From the flesh of the gods, Shibaqua was born. From the carnage of Shibaqua, we were born. It is our duty to return to the gods what was once theirs. Mask of the Stitched Demon. Shibaqua's treachery was met with divine fury. One by one, the gods reclaimed their flesh, until all that remained was a droplet of pure light, the first Vaal, Demon Stitcher, stained gloves.
You might not know this, but the common tongue we are speaking is derived from ancient Vaal. They were the largest empire on Rayclast for thousands of years.
They took pride in all that they built, considering each new temple a testament to the gods and then to themselves. Delving into the mysteries of existence, they deciphered the secret laws of nature and then harnessed them. Not content to live in harmony with the world, they strove to understand it, to improve it, and then to master it. They collaborated with each other and with nearby peoples at first, sharing, teaching, and then dominating. Though the Vaal revered peace, it would have been suicide for any culture to rouse them to war. Icus Perandus, Scholar to the Empire, Rebuke of the Vaal, Vaal Blade. Through war we found peace. Through death we found advancement. Our ancestors did not know where their actions would take them. Are we any better? For the Vaal, the relationship between slave and master was as intimate and volatile as that of lovers. The Vaal used human sacrifice to power their empire. They too eventually sought means to make their machines run more efficiently. Destined for sacrifice, they were dressed in garments that blurred the lines between this world and the next. Vaal blood priests were among the earliest intellectuals on record. It was they who found that newly freed soul would desperately cling to any source of life. So great was the thaumaturgy of a blood priest's mark that sacrifices soon welcomed their death.
We pack up our camp just before sunrise and journey towards the capital, Exile Voiced. We hear the crowd before we see them. Word of our victory spread quickly, and even the Queen has come to meet us. My family has come to watch the ceremony. As I lay on the stone altar, I hear them chanting my name. It's the last thing I hear before the Queen's dagger is plunged into my chest.
The Vaal built massive waterways to turn swamp into richer lands. But when them betrayed nature and cracked the world, nature did what she do best and took back the earth. Sad story, I guess, but too long ago to matter now.
Yes, Relikish, the god of many faces. I read about this god when I looked after the museum in Theopolis. It said he was obsessed with governance, in particular the control of humanity through our base animal instincts. He ruled over the citizens of one unfortunate Vaal city. Alas, the name escapes me. Yet I do recall that his experiments brought his subjects to the brink of extinction, and that he was forced to enslave many a primitive Asmerian of the time so as to repopulate his domain. Relikish was renowned for his penchant for subjugation and control.
The master of a million faces lived by one simple ethos. Why make the effort when you can simply mimic what others have?
Relikish. He's ruthless and cruel with cunning unfathomable, yet he bears one defining weakness, a fear he forged into chains of his own keeping. His is the terror of grasping too much and having it all slip through his fingers. It makes him irrational and therefore vulnerable. Relikish, the illustrious master of a million faces. I call him the god of hide and seek, while other deities waged wars, spread their seed, and laid waste to whole empires. Ralakesh perched on his throne in a dark palace of ebony, choked with incense, blinded by obedience, and deafened by a senseless cacophony of brass gongs. Thankfully, he never had the courage to peek over the high walls he built, else the world might have been in trouble. When you try to control everything, you ultimately control nothing. Ralakesh has never quite been able to grasp that concept.
"Lock the gates and build the walls," came the rallying cry. "Let those of Ralakesh take care of those of Ralakesh, the god behind the wall."
Vaal scholars seem compelled to answer all manner of strange and troubling questions. Ugol was one such scholar. Whilst plumbing the depths of humanity, he came to believe that there was no truer expression of humanity than pure terror. He would induce terror in children and then capture their reactions with an eldritch mirrors, devices of his own creation that could petrify fear for extended study. Through his gallery of reflected terror, Ugol came to understand human nature so well that he was able to manipulate his way into the Vaal halls of leadership, and eventually grew so feared and renowned that he ascended into godhood.
I heard tell of an ancient Vaal scholar who bore the name Ugol. He'd conduct these grisly experiments in pursuit of some piece of nasty wisdom tucked in the nether regions of human terror. Practiced on young kiddies, no less, scaring the living shite out of Vaal toddlers and then nabbing their fare within a hall of thaumaturgical mirrors. Could be the whole story's a crock, and here's where it gets even hazier. Seems old Ugol found something in that fare, enough to scare a whole swag of Vaal into worshipping him. Honestly, some people will worship anything for a bit of spiritual peace of mind.
In nature, there are many feelings exclusive only to man, but terror is not one. Terror flourishes in our world, transcending all things. It is the bedrock on which our great cosmos is formed. I'm Ugol, and I deign to understand this mystery, to explore its depth and unlock its secrets. So many have scrutinized the inner workings of the heart, written entire books on sadness, love, and hate. Yet terror is the truest, purest of all human emotions. Terror is what we have once our earthly facades are stripped away, once we are naked, vulnerable, savages in a vast and uncaring wilderness. Civilization is a costume worn to conceal our truest natures. Oh, that we could all become terrified children once again, that we could understand in an instant that everything is hopeless, everything is death, there is no next step, no reprieve, life is terror, and terror is life. Forbidden Texts of Ugol.
Ugol was a cautionary tale. The only way to truly understand fear is to become it. A temptress and a predator. Vaal legends say she crawled up from the blackest of pits during the creation of the world. No, her beginnings were far more mundane. A mortal harlot whose endless lust for loin and lecherous delight saw her transformed into the very image of her dark desires. The Spinner of Shadows, they once called her. She sees herself as a regular goddess of love, and has the romantically forged temple to prove it. That's where you'll find her. Yet there's little romance to the lady herself. At least, I doubt the corpses that now embrace her carapace would think so. Answering the call of a royal invitation, I visited the Spinner of Shadows as an emissary for a small and fragile alliance of gods. Mostly weak deities huddling together in terror of being consumed by their greaters. At this time, Queen Arakali ruled an empire, and so invited me to gaze upon her mighty works with appropriate wonder. If I'd looked past this pretense, I may have chanced to see her hidden desire to have me share her bed. For years I lay trapped in her webbed sheets. Some days she enjoyed my prowess. Other days we enjoyed each other. Yet this illusion of love and leisure simply veiled the morbid reality that I was not free to leave. I languished under her bewitching spell until the day the spider was betrayed by her own flies, and sealed within that temple of her own fevered making.
From what I can recall, Arakali was a Vaal fertility goddess, a rather unsettling union of sexuality and mortality. Whilst usually presenting herself as a large arachnid, Arakali would often assume human form, a ruse intended to lure mortals into the act of copulation. The entries were vague about the gender of her prey. After satiating her carnal desires, she would then quench her divine thirst, draining her erstwhile lover of all bodily fluid. Her acolytes would then collect the desiccated husk and give it a decorative placement in Arakali's unholy temple.
There is a story held by the ancient Vaal in which the beautiful seductress Arakali strode through towns, stealing the hearts of men and turning to ash their lovers' desires. When the cold was at its strongest, Arakali came and, like a farmer leading cattle to the slaughter, she drove her victims into the outer darkness. Records of Arakali's violent reign suggest she kept her citizens sedated with juices of lust and venoms of the spider. Perhaps her guise of seductress was in fact her way of farming those juices.
Many an artist of Esmerian descent has engaged in the sad worship of that sultry arachnid.
Make no mistake, my Asmeri ancestors worshipped Arakali long before the Vaal did, although I'm not entirely sure why. She was hardly a goddess of love or fertility. No, she was naught but a predator, ensnaring her victims in silk and sedating them with venom.
Our great goddess, we worship her, and in so doing we may become her. Healer of hearts, Arakali, with the juices of lust and venoms of the spider, she brought many back from the brink of death. Only she was worthy to rule. The porcelain queen, Gruthkol, disgraced my ancestors, drained them with drought, starved them with famine, blighted them with plague. It was with justice and truth that my ancestors shattered the porcelain queen's reign and brought our Messiah to power. Our temple of decay was built so that we, her chosen, might sustain our great goddess in her pursuit of the secrets that lust and life would keep from us. We, her followers, brought all assortments of venomous creatures and laid them at her feet. Yet it was the spider she most coveted. And as the divine energies wove their destinies about her body, our queen Arakali was reborn. Arakali the miracle, Arakali the mighty arachnophage, a beauteous creature of immortal power and unfathomable wisdom. As our queen's body was reborn, so too was her mind. Awash with visions of future and past, she burst from the deluge, grasping with terror. She had seen her empire in ruins, her people ground into the dust, and atop her throne sat the children of Gruthkol, their long white hair fluttering in the winds of victory, their laughter as saw blades in Arakali's heart. Yet as the vision poisoned her dreams, Arakali poisoned the vision. Once, twice, thrice, the children of Gruthkul fell, crying their crimson tears, and how their mother grieved. As her fury grew to blot out the sun, the mother's grief grew to eclipse the land. Gruthkul and her horde stampeded across the realms of Arakali, crushing her subjects blood and bone into the trembling earth. With her empire on the brink of ruination, our queen, the spinner of shadows, hatched a desperate plan. Feigning injury and defeat, Arakali lured Gruthkul into the heart of a great cavern. There she entwined her enemy in unyielding silk, and then, With prodigious bravery and strength, she brought the very stones tumbling down upon Gruthkul's antlered head. Even as our courageous Arakali forged the foundations of a new empire, within the ruination of the old, a fresh threat was born in the shadow of the mountains. A creature so devoid of divinity, so beyond humanity, that it drew the very essence from Arakali, as the spider imbibes the life of the trapped moth. Our green medicines had once sustained us. Now famine and plague ravaged what little remained of our lands. As the beast of the mountains grew, our Arakali waned until helpless as a child. She lost even the faith of her most devoted. The Temple of Decay. I feel the shame for my ancestors as the spider's venom burns in my belly. When our queen needed them the most, her people betrayed her, bound her in silk, and left her to languish in the bowels of a pyramid, just as Arakali had done to Gruthkul so many years before.
The monkey represented Kamasa, the Vaal god of wealth. If you see a statue of a monkey, it means treasure. It may be a vault, maybe a temple, could be a vast forge. Any of the above would mean fabulous riches. I've never been quite sure if Kamasa was actually a monkey, or if he was just god of monkeys. In either case, he held their love for shiny things. The wealth wasn't the point, but his cult still slowly grew to become the richest in the Vaal Empire. Eventually, they became the very guardians of the treasury itself. The famed Parandas family would have been paupers in comparison. Little is known about the monkey god. He was initially portrayed as curious, wise, and prone to mischief. In the earliest tales, if he appeared, it was to do one of two things: impart mysterious wisdom, or steal something shiny from a wealthy noble. Unfortunately, his greed apparently grew as the Vaal expanded. Later tales portrayed him extorting peasants and blackmailing nobles for increasingly large tithes. His cult's core values became exploitation and ambition. His high priests eventually ran everything remotely financial in the empire. I can only imagine what treasures are hidden in their ancient coffers. The ziggurat beneath us was once the temple of the sun god, one of the oldest built in the city of Utzal's religious district. It was in active use for at least 1,000 years.
Beneath our feet is the temple of the sun god Kopek. It was said to contain a grand device. I've seen writings by a fellow named Ketzuli that mention his research in this temple, but I can't quite make sense of what the device was or how it functioned.
It's said that the triumvirate authority is imbued with the sigil of the god Yaumak, the shepherd of Vaal souls, and the arbiter of the balance of the seasons. 3 unique blessings are conferred by each of Yaumak's 3 serpentine heads.
The priest that carried Yaumak's sigil was granted one boon by each serpentine head. Their 3 serpentine heads found unity in balance. You covet the strength of your peers, mortal. Perhaps it can be yours, if you are willing to make an offering of their blood.